Doctrines are different perspectives based on different people's observations of who God is, how to know Him, and how we should serve Him. These disputes about doctrines started with the disciples of old times. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 4 to 6. But when one said, I am of Paul, and another, I am from Apollos, are you not carnal? Who then is Paul, and who is Apollos? But ministers through whom you believed, as the Lord gave to each one. I planted, and Apollos watered, but God gave the increase. This happened during the time of old. Some group of people belonged to Paul, and some other group of people say they belong to Apollos. Because of their certain beliefs, this became a concern, and Paul came hard to address the situations. He said, we are both working for God, so why the divisions? What happened then that the disciples could not handle brought about various doctrines. Doctrines is what brought the different denominations from around the world we have today. We have the Orthodox movement, we have the Protestant movement, we have the Catholic movement, we have the Anglican movement, we have the Methodist movement. We are all Christians, but our doctrine separated us. God does not belong to a particular denomination, and Jesus does not belong to any of these movements. Jesus stands with true Christianity home. This is why it is very important to have a personal understanding of who God truly is. I don't belong to any of them. I am not a Protestant. I am a Christian. You can call me the Jesus movement. So each time you see me teaching, don't think I'm teaching from a Protestant perspective. No, I'm teaching from the Jesus movement perspective, which is centered on God and God only. I know you will want to ask me, how am I sure that my teachings are true? This is how you will know if my teachings are true or not. One, my teachings is centered on God through Jesus Christ and no one else. Two, my teachings is centered on the truth and not on religious perspective. My teachings, standards, and guidelines are anchored on the Bible and nothing else. This is how you can know if my teachings are true or not. What is doctrine? These are laid down principles concerning faith, morals, and belief that are taught and accepted by a particular group. Doctrine means to teach or to pass out knowledge to a group of people. Every religion from around the globe is anchored on doctrines. Doctrines are laid down principles or dogma which a group of people choose to follow. Every doctrine on earth was established by someone. When I went through all the various doctrines of various denominations, I found one loophole or the other. These doctrines are selfish and self-centered. Doctrines filled with lies, manipulations, and deceit. The only doctrine I have never seen lies, manipulations, and deceit is the doctrine of Yeshua. If you are a true Christian, your doctrine should be that of Jesus. Live his lifestyle and follow his footsteps. In this teaching, I'll be looking at some of the doctrines that were in existence before Yeshua came and how he corrected them and narrowed them into genuine love. Before Jesus came, there were a group of people called the Pharisees and the Scribes. Their main aim was to write and interpret the Torah. For a clear understanding, Torah refers to the rules given by God to govern man's relations with God and humans. The work of the Pharisees and the Scribes was to interpret the Torah and to write it in a written form, which can also be called the ancient Bible. God gave the Torah, but humans misinterpreted it and made other laws out of it. Some humans even thought that God made a mistake in some of the laws given, and they intended to correct God by mapping out their laws or changing the structures of the laws. The laws were not given to us, but it was for us. The laws were originally given to the Israelites, but they are also for us. Pharisees comes from an ancient Semitic word meaning separated. Pharisees are those who committed their lives to separating themselves from any sign of impurity. These people elevated the importance of the tradition surrounding the law of Moses and devoted themselves to fulfilling every detail of the law. Pharisees are scholars, teachers, and leaders in the synagogue. They believe in the authority of both the written Torah and oral traditions passed through from generations. Pharisees are watchers of the law. They often watch hard for law breakers. Pharisees can be classified in this modern time as the pastors, prophets, preachers, priests, fathers. They can be classified as church leaders and fathers. Scribes were Jewish men who studied the law, transcribed it, and wrote commentaries on it. They are highly regarded as teachers of the people and interpreters of the law. In this modern time, scribe can be referred as those who put the Bible into written form. They can be regarded as writers of the Bible. Jesus, who was a rabbi and fellow teachers of the law, was supposed to commend the Pharisees and the scribes for their zeal and good work, helping God to discipline those who went against the law. But Jesus rebuked them off, calling them whitewashed tombs and snakes, because they gave a wrong interpretation of the law and made it a burden too difficult for others to bear. Matthew chapter 23, verse 27 to 28. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you are like whitewashed tombs, which indeed appear beautiful outwardly, but inside are full of dead man's bone and all uncleanness. Whitewashed tombs means tombs or museums that have been covered with white paint. So they look beautiful on the outside, but inside is full of dead humans' bones. In the words of Jesus, Jesus said the Pharisees, they look beautiful on the outside, but on the inside, they look like dead men's bones. Jesus used that irony to describe what the Pharisees and scribes look like. Humanly looking at them, they appear beautiful on their robe, but inward, they are nothing but dead humans' bones. Jesus went further to say, even so, you also outwardly appear righteous to men, but inside you are full of hypocrisy and lawlessness. These people claim that they are righteous outwardly, well dressed with a white robe outwardly. Inwardly, they are filled with sins. They pretend to be righteous before you, but they are pretenders and hypocrites. They don't keep the laws they ask you to do. They are laws finders, but inwardly, they are law breakers. These people claim that they are righteous outwardly, well dressed with a white robe outwardly. Inwardly, they are filled with sins. Serpents, blood of viper. How can you escape the judgment of hell? Jesus called them serpents, and they said they can't escape hell. This means every follower of this type of people will all head towards hell. Why would Jesus rebuke those who were working hard for God? These are writers and interpreters of the laws. These are people who persecute and discipline those who break the laws or go against the laws. Yet Jesus was against them and rebuked them often. Jesus rebuked them because they misinterpreted the laws and made it too difficult for others to believe. They are good at giving the laws, but they don't live by the laws. They give you the laws to practice and act as your judge, but they don't live by the laws. They give you the laws, and when you break the laws, you run to them for confession rather than to confess to God. Matthew chapter 23, verse 1 to 6. Then Jesus spoke to the multitudes and to his disciples, saying, the scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. This means they always want to be recognized. They seek attentions. They force respect on you. When they speak, you cannot oppose. When they give instructions, you cannot question. Therefore, whatever they tell you to observe, that observe and do. But do not do according to their works, for they say and do not do. Whatever these leaders of the Lord tells you, you always want to do, without finding out the truth for yourself. You always follow what these leaders tells you to do, without trying to see if it is right or wrong. That is what Jesus meant. For they bind heavy burdens, hard to bear, and lay them on men's shoulders. But they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers. They give you tasks to do, but they will not do it. They will tell you to fast, but they will not fast. Rather, they will hide to eat while you are doing the fasting. They will tell you to suffer your flesh, to ask for forgiveness from God by laying it down countless times, but they will never do so because they claim to be righteous. But all their works they do to be seen by men. They make their feast lotteries, broad, and enlarge the borders of their garments. They want to be noticed by men. They love putting on big robe, extra big, to appear special, significant. They love the best places at feast, the best seat in the synagogue. They always want to be in the VIP session. They always want to be in the front row in the church. Greetings in the marketplaces. To be called by men, Rabbi, Rabbi. They love greetings. I love to be called teachers. They always want to draw attention and to be noticed by all. But you, do not be called Rabbi, for one is your teacher, the Christ, and you are all brethren. Jesus makes us to understand that we are all equal before God. We have only one teacher who came to teach us the truth about God. And that teacher is Jesus. We have only one teacher with a sound doctrine, and that is Jesus. Do not call anyone on earth your father, for one is your Father who is in heaven. Do not have any other gods, for you have one God who is in heaven.
Join Wisdom Ogbe in his next teaching as he talks about the importance of the cross.